Greetings, peace and blessings. I will be forward momentarily. Welcome, come on in. Welcome, peace and blessings, divine joy and prosperity. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Let me know, can you hear me out there? All is truly and indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test, and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. You are listening now live and always in archive at your leisure and convenience to the Divine Prince, Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, and advisor, Elagun Oloye Hoodoo Obeya Bokua. Broadcasting live from this beautiful, historic, legendary, enchanted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana, sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, universal, healing, and holistic, evolutionary, revolutionary from a Pan-African hoodoo, world spiritualist perspective, understanding that all is truly and indeed a blessing. Respect the voodoo, no matter what you do, respect the voodoo. Thank you, Daniel Neal. Greetings and salutations, honor and respect. Tariq Lopez, honor and respect. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. My apologies for not being on last night. To say that I was exhausted would be an understatement. I was comatose. By the time it came 8 o'clock, 8:15, I was heavy. A new trailer for my coming docu-series, Respect the Voodoo. And so I was wiped out after several days of filming all day. And I mean all day, much like you would see in a reality TV series, though this is a docu-series. But to have a camera in your face and a microphone attached all day, it within itself is exhausting. And we had our Creole class and our choir rehearsal on Monday night at the Healing Center for our Voodoo celebration coming April 5th and 6th, our symposium April 5th, and our National New Orleans Voodoo Day on April 6th. And I certainly invite every one of you to if you can't travel and you can't be here, there may be a live streaming event going on. So I may have tickets available to allow for you to join us via live streaming. And certainly we appreciate your offerings, your donations, your shows of support, and your sponsorships. Sponsorships will also allow you advertisement space, branding space for your business and or organization, along with our National New Orleans Voodoo Day uh, press, advertisement, and marketing. So we certainly appreciate you to come out, join us, and be a part. So again, forgive us for not being on live last night. I'm gonna try to limit any missing nights, but sometimes it's just inevitable, and I didn't even have a chance to warn anybody really, except Sister Tony and Kim P. Ford, that I was not going to be here. So thank you for your attention and your support and your commitment to the show and to the platform. And I invite you to join us here. We had a lively episode day before yesterday, and I'm hoping we can continue that prayerfully and respectfully continue that conversation and that level of engagement as we discuss and talk about all things voodoo. Greetings, Sister Tony, Queen Mother Martinez. How are you tonight?
Latvia, I'm doing good. Prince, how are you?
As I was so eloquently sharing, exhausted, It is Carnival, and I am masking Mardi Gras Day. So it's sequence and beading and getting the finer touches on this patchwork done so that I can construct this year's Mardi Gras Indian affair. So
Well, I know
yeah,
you got your plate full this time of year.
yeah. So I'm
I don't see how you doing it.
sewing and filming, and still being involved in SOS Waterwise and the National New Orleans Voodoo Day. It's a lot. I could use a hand or two or four or six. Yeah, I
Yeah, you
really could.
certainly can because you're doing it all by yourself.
Yeah, in many ways, yes, yes. So, how are things happening on your end? What's voodoo in your world?
Ha, boy, look, I'm trying to behave. I'm trying to be good. But some people just work on my nerves. I need to stay off of Facebook. I really do. I can't believe that so many people have a computer right in their hand all day, every day, and only use it to go on Facebook and as a telephone.
Yeah,
I just can't
or,
believe it.
or for mindless hours of mindless entertainment. Um,
Yes, and then the very ones be ready to argue you down on a topic they know nothing about, but could easily find out if they would just use that little place called Google. I mean, they have a whole
yeah,
encyclopedia in their hand.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Greetings, Alchemist. Thank you so much for joining us and come on in. We certainly appreciate your attendance and your support of the show. Uh, Please, if anyone has any questions, comments, or requests, do so. Type them in the chat, and I'll do my best to read them out loud and address them. I also welcome your on-air participation with your webcam and your microphone, but uh, there will be no shenanigans as we experienced on that last episode. There will be no shenanigans. Thankfully, we managed to navigate YouTube, having an issue with it. The last time that happened, maybe 3 years ago, my episode almost got deleted, but certainly they were limiting its accessibility. But I think I was able to catch it quick enough this time, and quite possibly the YouTube algorithm has had some experience with that kind of trolling. So again, if I don't know you, I am certainly not going to bring you live on screen with me until you've been vetted a little bit. But you're certainly welcome to enter your questions, comments, and requests in the live chat, and I'll be more than happy myself or Sister Tony or whichever co-hosts may join us as we continue to move forward in the remaining 50 or so minutes of the show. I'll be more than happy to address you live while we are here on air. And certainly your private and personal request and requests for appointments and services can always be submitted by way of my website at www.houseofthedivineprince.com, virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But for all your information as it relates to the National New Orleans Voodoo Day and connected events, please visit us at www.voodooday.org, voodooday.org. It will be a special and powerful day with a delegation coming from Haiti a delegation coming from Ouida, Benin, and neighboring nations. Nigeria will be in the house. Ghana will be in the house. Certainly, Paris and other global locales will be with us on that special event. Be a part of a transformative moment for New Orleans and for the Pan African diaspora by sponsoring New Orleans National Voodoo Day. You're investing in cultural preservation, healing, and unity. Sponsorship of New Orleans National Voodoo Day is more than support for an event, it is an investment in the heart of our community. Join us in creating an unforgettable experience that celebrates history while increasing your business connection to a dedicated and engaged audience. Let's create a brighter, more connected future, one celebration at a time. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Visit us at www.v like Victor O D O U day.org. National Voodoo Day. Hashtag National Voodoo Day. Support healing. Support the National Voodoo Day.
I have a question.
Please come on in.
Does everybody, well, let me see how I want to frame this. How does one find out who is their personal Orisha?
Oh, that's an excellent question and an often misunderstood question. Um, there's only one way to make and create Orisha, and this is what I was taught by my elders and my godmother, Mama Yeye, may she rest in her room.
Oh, you gone out.
Start talking about, who is your guardian Orisha, or who's on your head, or what Orisha have you been crowned. We're really not saying the same thing. We're not even really speaking the same language. An individual can certainly have the guidance and the protectorship of any assortment of deity and or Orisha, and that can be determined through divination, through Fa or Ifa divination. But in terms of having Orisha on your head, crowning Orisha, there is a implication that there has been some ceremony, some ritual, some initiatory process that has taken place to seat Orisha on your head. And that is done in various ways, depending on the lineage. Certainly, how things are done in Osogbo, Nigeria, might not be exact to how things are done in Oshun Village or Ogun, but so is the case in looking at Nago tradition or Isheshe practice on the continent, uh, and then looking at Lukumi, for example, which is a very systematic, organized, ritualized system, and they have a very distinct way of not only making and creating Orisha, but then placing Orisha on one's head and still utilizing Fa divination to determine who governs the head, who sits on one's head. Santeria is going to have their way of determining a head and sitting Orisha. Candable in Brazil is going to have a systematic way of doing so. And certainly Louisiana voodoo and New Orleans voodoo, we have a distinct lineage, a distinct ethno-cultural tradition here that has evolved over the decades of how we operate in and work with seven African powers and Orisha, much akin to Hoodoo, Voodoo, and even the more organized systems when the practitioner has received those ceremonies, those initiations, but is also operating in Hoodoo, conjure, root work, the like. Come on in, Maceo. We certainly appreciate you. Greetings and salutations. Welcome. Again, one and all, my apologies for not being alive last night to come on, but I was exhausted, passed out, and when I woke up, it was 2 in the morning. So come on in, Macy. Are you there? We might be having some kind of tech issue on his end.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on in when you can. Come on. We'd love to know what's voodoo in your world. Tariq Lopez, what's voodoo in your world? The
I had a
Alchemist,
little difficulty.
what's voodoo in your world? And Maceo, greetings, beloved. What's voodoo in your world? Yeah, we're still having a tech difficulty.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. Let me unmute. Greetings and salutations, honor and respect. Honor and
Hello.
respect.
Ashe.
And how are you doing today? What's voodoo in your world?
I'm doing all right. Had to refocus on some time management. But voodoo in my world is just all things nature and seeing beyond the veil. Because like the apocalypse translation itself does not mean the end of the world. The apocalypse is actually translates to lifting of the veil, which means like the pulling back of the curtain. And we're in the year of the completion. Because 2025, 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 5, that equals 9, which is the year of completion. So that's what voodoo means to me, just the acknowledgement of synchronicity when things are unrelated but they're still somehow related, like coincidence. The root word of coincidence is coincide, and to coincide means to come together. So that's automatically telling you that coincidence does not exist. And voodoo to me is just the understanding of nature and how all things still connect to source. Like when I do my voodoo, like I get up, I go outside, I pet bumblebees. You know, bumblebees are happiest when they're working. So when they're working, you can pet them and they won't sting you. When I see a spider, I won't kill it. I'll pick it up and let it outside. If I see a spider around someone else, I'll save them. Like voodoo is just, something like a bug or something, and we're squishing them. Like we're almost playing God when I feel like people play with bugs like that. And voodoo to me is just like acknowledging how big and important nature is, and that we're only a crumb to the universe, but plants and bugs are the same to us. So just acknowledging and being a bigger part of that, having plants in your house, being natural. Mine is a little more connected with shamanism voodoo. So it's kind of like you can only be a shaman if you heal yourself from a sickness first. And I had Crohn's disease since I was like 11, so I healed myself from that. And that's what voodoo is to me, just self-healing in nature.
Yes, Ashe. Ashe. Give thanks. I
Yeah.
for me personally, I'm not so much into the whole apocalypse concept. I think we
You zoned out again.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the whole planet goes through this seasonal change, cocooning like the caterpillar and the butterfly as we continue to grow and evolve. I think we've endured and survived many MINI apocalypses over the course of planetary life and quite possibly human evolution. I used to really buy in strongly to, biblical revelation and biblical context for apocalypse. But then I also found, those apocalypse type stories in many cultures, in many sacred books around the world. And again, keeping and understanding that voodoo is indeed nature and applying even creative meditation, visual meditation, guided meditation where you become the earth, you become the minerals and elements of the earth. You can virtually experience a transition, apocalyptic like transition, and then overcome that. I don't know about you, Sister Tony, but Hurricane Katrina
Yes,
also played a big role in sculpting my opinion about that, because for us that was apocalypse.
yes. To me, I don't believe in apocalypse in the sense of everything being destroyed. I believe apocalypse means things that the way you know it are destroyed. And Katrina definitely was an apocalyptic event because everything the people in New Orleans knew was gone in a day, literally.
Well, everything's a play on words because they call it spelling, like spell this, spell that, because words are spells. That's
Yeah,
why it's called spelling. So like we awake on the weekdays. Awake is what you do when someone dies. A week days is a trance, and go to work. At the end of the week, we get the weekend because we're weakened. At the end of the weekdays, we get the weekend because we're weakened. So everything's a play on words. Apocalypse in a dictionary translates to lifting of the veil, and veil translates to a curtain. So it's all just a play on words. Like, English is a combination of all these different languages mushed together. Like if
yeah,
you translate our months, October, oct means 8. October is not our 8th month, but oct in French means 8. Sept means 7. Sept is not our 7th month. November, that means 10. No, if our 11th month. December, that means 11, but December is our 12th month. There's a whole 13th month missing. We're on something called the Gregorian calendar, which is messed up. It's all a play on words, and it's all messed up when you actually understand Latin and different languages, and you actually get to learn French. You learn how messed up our language and all the spells they understand this language and all the spells very much, and they're very they're not that good at making up the stories. Hollywood has a CIA contract. Like they all get the stories somewhere. It's all planned.
yes, I totally agree. Um, we don't speak English in this country. Actually, we might speak a sort of patois of the English language. Our words we don't even pronounce the same as the English do, and a lot of our words, for example, kindergarten, that's a German word, but it's in the English language in America.
That's
So
crazy.
we made up from a lot of French, Spanish, and words that we say in the same sentence, and they say we speak in English. I've been told by several people that American English is the devil's language because it's a language of confusion. Like English is the only language that you'll have words that sound alike and have a different meaning and spelled alike and pronounced different, like read and read, like
It's true.
holy.
It's in
How many?
our combination of certain words and certain languages make it seem like we have an infant or a medial language. Like for example, in French, we say pencil, or we say crayon for a crayon, but in French, crayon translates to pencil. So like if I was going to ask for a pencil in French, I would say est-ce que je peux taler mon crayon? Crayola is French. They made crayons. And that's crazy. Like when they first made the crayons, brown was not called brown. The color brown, when Crayola first created colors, the color brown was called Indian red in the 50s. And now it's called brown.
Yeah,
Indian red, red skins, red bone, yellow bone. They telling us a lot. It's all a play on words. If you can really, just like Prince always says, if you can just see beyond the veil, it gets deep. And the most simplest things.
And
yeah,
indeed, we create and recreate our reality with our mouths. But even before you speak that vibration, you have to think in it, and it has to pass through your crystal, the cipher that is your consciousness. So for me, and again, I'm only speaking for me, I think it's healthy to disagree about things. Apocalypse is a word uh, rooted outside of our culture. It's rooted in fear, and it helps to establish this fear reaction, this fear pattern. People are either waiting, for to die and the great by and by, or it manifests as this sort of fear that there's this unstoppable, unthinkable thing out there that we can't fix and or control, and it's coming at us at some point, and there's nothing we can do about it, and so that causes a different trigger in people differently. A sense of survival, or a sense of despair, even, or hopelessness. Well, if it's too big for me and I can't do anything about it, why plan for it? Uh, why does anything matter? So I agree with both of you about the idea of the word spell, the God spell, not gospel, but the God spell, and that inherent trigger of fear and apprehension, and what type of effect then does that have on our consciousness, on our on our head, and our ability to see a reality, because you must see a reality that mirrors your best interest in order to make and create a reality that mirrors your best interest. To what degree does that affect our ability to do so in a healthy and way when we don't begin to actively usage, our response to those words, our reaction to those words?
Oh yeah, words. They got us thinking profanities are words of curse. They're not. All those words your mama didn't want you to say, those are profanities. They are not curse words. Curse words are what Celie told Mister when she was leaving, and she looked at him and pointed her fingers and said, "Until you do right by me, everything you touch gonna fall apart." That's a curse word. That's words of curse. When
I
we was
got a
little,
Wish some bad on someone.
when we was little kids, and our mama would beat our butts, and we go in the room crying, "I hope you die." That's words of
You know
curse.
how many you know how many mothers done made their kids sick by saying that? Boy, you gonna be sick. Boy, you sick, and the child gets sick because
Yeah.
she said that.
I
Another
know.
common another common curse is you going to hell.
Yes, we have to
Yeah,
be
but you know
very.
what I say? I say, how can I go somewhere I already am at? The worst thing that can happen to me is that I get reincarnated and come back, like Tupac said. That's my only fear, getting reincarnated and coming back to this piece of crap, this prison planet. It's already telling us it's a prison planet. We have a rib cage. Rib cage. They already telling us what we in. To me, the definition of hell is having a physical body, period. Needing to eat food, getting hungry, all that stuff. I can't go somewhere I already am.
Wow. But
I offer you, Maceo, when you have an opportunity, just some of these words. Research what your ancestors would have called the rib cage.
You cut out.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
You
yeah, I
cutting out a
hear
little bit,
you.
Prince.
If you will, I offer that
What did he
you
say?
I offer that you research a little bit about what your ancestors would have called the rib cage, what the Aboriginal people or the indigenous people, or even the Kemetic people, or the Mayan people would have called some of these same words that we, again, have these negative God spells or word spells attached to. I think there's a power in recognizing, acknowledging, and seeing. But then, as gods and goddesses, as co-creators, we then have to create a reality in which we live within. A good example of that is mourning. That has become a pop cultural taboo for a particular demographic, and not necessarily of a particular age, but a particular age, particular mindset, a particular awareness and consciousness. So there's those among us that don't say good morning anymore, and take offense to that because of the connotation to the word,
Yeah, I don't say it. When people say good morning to me, I just say I'm not.
which is again another word language that's outside of our natural, organic, or aboriginal indigenous languages. So one of the exercises that I do is to um, rename those words first in my head, and then certainly through my language and my usage, or I just eliminate. Um, I could remember back in my 20s and 30s, and Sister Val might remember, the reasoning sessions that would often digress into arguments, whether they with the Muslims or the 5%ers or the Rastas or just some group of black folks sitting on the stoop, and they would really digress into this war of words and semantics, and in some cases beliefs and understanding. I remember one of the opportunities I had to walk out of an IHOP at 2 o'clock in the morning, on a table full of Hebrew Israelites, was over using the Bible at all to explain my reality. I am not offended or oppressed in any way by others who still continue to adhere and follow that magical book and perceive it as, the divine words of God. I think it's just, now it's masked in other cultures. We say, oh well, it's Abyssinian and it's really Ethiopian, and we use all sorts of ways to still sort of bind ourselves to that code, to that God spell. So it's alarming to people when I say I don't believe. Not only is it not the word of God, but it's corrupt on so many literary levels. It's hard to even keep track. I'm much more likely to trust, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or much older texts and references from which many of the Bible passages are originally pulled from. But we cannot neglect the influence of man and governments, and kings and queens, and that effect on what we say today, why we say it at all, and then those words that we attach to it. Am I coming through clear?
Yes, we listening. That's why I was saying about the words. The English language. Most people say the Holy Bible, and when people would do that, they would get mad at me because I would say, "Yeah, it's the Holy Bible because it's full of holes."
But that's crazy
Mhm.
about that word holy, because that comes from like Hollywood, the holly tree, the tree that the slaves got hung on.
It's
Hollywood,
in
holiday, Holly Bible. It's all from the holly tree. It gets deep if you research like the words and where origin.
Mhm.
Holy is a word that have a lot of meaning. I could have a Holy Bible and I could have a holy pair of socks. That's why most people that use English as a second language and even a third language say it's the hardest language to learn because
Yeah.
of the words sounding the same, spelled different, spell the same, sound different. It's very confusing. And as we know, one of, you could call them what you want, Satan, Lucifer, whatever, the divine evil, what makes their reign so strong is confusion. And the English language is just a whole bunch of confusion.
But I think you because you started off saying that we don't really speak English, and I agree with that. We probably speak American
That's what
or
we
something,
speak.
by another name. But even in that context, there's so many ethnocultural nuances. Certainly, Bostonians don't sound like people from New Jersey. Don't and New Jerseyans don't sound like people from New York City, and they're in close proximity. And certainly, when you consider the Floridian accent, the Louisianian accents, the Texan accents, it certainly gets confusing and complex just in that context. But I strongly advocate Americans, and particularly Black
I did
Americans,
some
learn other languages.
I did some research though. I did some research though a while ago, but like the English people that talk like Harry Potter, like "Hello, governor, yeah, man, you got me." Like those people, I researched the dialect, the German English dialect. That's really just a sped up slave dialect. Like the yes, massa. If you speed that up, that's what translates to the proper English, or like the Harry Potter, Idris Elba sounding English people. It's just a sped up slave dialect. If you slow it down, it's the same slave dialect. I forget what Mama said earlier. She said it. You said it. The patois. Yeah, it's like a sped up patois or lyric language.
Well, the reason for that is, and this was a big argument when they said we speak Ebonics. You got to realize, especially in the South, people that were enslaved learned how to speak what we call English from people that were speaking English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
So our words came out mispronounced because they said it with their original accent, which made it mispronounced when it first came to our ears. We didn't come here speaking that language.
Right.
So if I'm learning to speak English, which was the American English, let's say that, which was the trade language, from a French person or a Spanish person, because especially in Louisiana, where you had a place ruled by two sets of people, the French and the Spanish, and a Spanish person try to tell you the name of the word shoe, SHOE. They can't even pronounce shoe in American English. So how they
Mm-hmm.
expected us to learn these words correctly and pass them on?
Yeah.
You got to remember, slaves learned from people who used American English as a second language.
That's right. And
That's
they
true
also
because
take
I've
that
read up
to
that there was two languages spoken on the slave plantation: the Africans they brought over, and then the black natives who were already here speaking native. There was two languages: the African tongue and the native tongue. And neither one of those tongues were English.
No, and the people, English came later as a trade. When they saw get enough European type people over here and Spaniards and French, when you started the markets of shipping cotton and import and export from England, that was a trade language. That was a language like Swahili. You learned that in order to be able to buy and sell goods. The
And then it
French
was that
planters
colonial
came here.
language.
The French came here speaking French. That's why you had a lot of slaves that really learned American English late, because those plantation owners were not in the cities doing business. They only spoke French on their plantations.
You know, a lot of Africans to this day, especially a lot of Africans that live in America, they don't have their Liberian, Kenyan, Ethiopian language. Their first language is French because the French were the first to colonize them.
Yes.
Like when I go to the places do my community work, when I talk to the Africans when I go in the community every day, and I speak French when I'm talking to the Africans.
And most of the time, that was because that was part of the indoctrination in forbidding them, pretty much with the Native American Indians here. They were forbidden to speak their native language. They had to speak French. And the only time they really spoke their native language was in the home. Just like what they did, all the Vietnamese that came here from the Vietnam War. Associated Catholic Charities, who I worked with, told the parents, do not speak the language in their homes, to speak English.
That language barrier stuff gets deep, because I remember I was in middle school. I was like 7th grade. I was like 13, 14. I was dating an Asian girl, and her parents, a lot of these foreigners, the kid is the only one that speaks English. The parents don't speak nothing. So the kid is the parents' guide to everything in America. Like she was 13, 14, an Asian girl. I think she was like Laotian or something. They had to sell their house. She was responsible for selling her parents' house. So every day I'll be on the phone with her. She's 13 or 14, a foreigner. She's selling the parents' house because they don't speak a lick of English. That's crazy. I can imagine me being a 14-year-old trying to sell my parents' house online. And I know English. That's crazy. I couldn't imagine that.
But that's part of the indoctrination into erasing them from their culture. I had a long talk with a guy I worked with that was Vietnamese, and he told me that in his house, his grandparents don't speak English at all, and he wasn't teaching his son to speak Vietnamese. And I told him something that struck him pretty hard. I say, so you mean to tell me your son will never be able to tell your grandparents, his grandparents, great grandparents, I love you? And he told me, he was like, damn, that's deep. I say they will never be able to tell their great grandparents, I'm sorry, in their native language, because you refuse to teach your children your native tongue. And he said, man, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna teach my kids so that they can talk to their grandparents. Well, it was their great grandparents, and he could only speak a few words to his grandparents because he was a child when the boat people came over here. I say, man, you can't wake up and say a full conversation with your grandparents because the
Some
white
of them,
man said.
some of them take that serious. Like I had a Cambodian friend that I used to box with, and he told me when he went to Cambodia, he went to a dojo and he couldn't speak Cambodian, so they kicked him out the dojo.
Indoctrination. But
I
I
strongly
remember,
advocate personally that Americans, and particularly Black Americans, learn more languages.
yes,
We are linguistically ignorant on the planet,
yes,
where other peoples and other ethnic groups speak a minimum of 3 or more languages. It also limits our mobility and our overall sense of autonomy and independence in the world by, again, our over reliance on slave or colonizer languages, tongues, and their meanings, when we can indeed relearn those things in another language, and particularly in another ethnocultural derivative
Yeah,
that we
the
feel.
whole speak English. I believe that the whole speak English movement is very ignorant. Like ignorant meaning like just to be unknowing or to be knowingly unknowing. Because like the whole speak English movement, the thing about that is, yeah, it's a proven statistic that most people do speak more than one language. So the people that only speak one language, they are the minority.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's many of our people here in America.
We don't get to know what kind of spells they casting with their language and their writing. I remember back in the day, getting back to the words we use and what we've been taught is curse words and stuff. When you were getting ready to say, I wish, and there was an elder close by, that elder would say, watch your mouth. Before you make that wish, and most of the time it would be when somebody was mad, basically. And the elder would say, watch your mouth. I never hear that anymore. I never hear anybody tell anybody that anymore. Watch your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what they were doing is saying, don't wish it, don't spell it, don't bring it into being.
That gets real deep and deeper into the concept of why Prince, the celebrity, why Prince didn't why he didn't celebrate his birthday, and the thing about blowing candles out, making wishes on a birthday, that gets real deep if you research that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a Jehovah's Witness, and they don't celebrate those things.
With language comes a whole ethno.
But nah, if you research Prince's symbol, the Prince symbol was the male symbol mixed with the female symbol mixed with the Ethiopian cross, the Ankh. So he say he was a Jehovah's Witness, but if your Prince symbol is the Ankh symbol mixed with the male symbol mixed with the female symbol, he knows something we don't. Like you said before, a lot of people are religious. But like you said before, you said before, a lot of people are religious, but then they hide their magic crafts like they're an affair. Prince was probably doing the same thing.
Well, like they say, if you really listen to some of the words of his songs and go and read the lyrics to the words of his songs, you would know exactly what he was into.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to, we singing along, but when you sit down and see him in writing,
and them glasses with that third eye, that third lens, yep,
and see what he's actually singing about, it'll kind of make you sit up and look, because Prince was doing a whole lot of spelling in his songs. He was casting a whole lot of spells and paying a whole lot of homage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at one time I had just stopped. I had got rid of my whole Prince collection. He was just gone too much for me, and I didn't want to be doing the mantra. I didn't want to be repeating those words. I just say, not me. I quit. I quit. It took me a minute to get in the right headspace to be able to even hear some Prince songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
yeah, music is its own kind of voodoo.
yes.
It's harmonies, rhythms, vibrations, incantations, affirmations. It's its own special voodoo.
Yes. And you got to listen to the songs, and you got to be lucky enough, which we could do now with the internet and all the websites, and the way we can pull up interviews. Prince once said in his song, everybody loved that song, Let's Go Crazy, when he says, don't let the elevator bring you down.
What do you think he meant by what do you think he meant by cutting his facial hair into the word of slave on his face?
Well, he was making a statement that he was a slave to the record company because he was working for nothing. Literally. He did a whole interview on that. But when he said, don't let the elevator bring you down, in the interview, he said the elevator was
And they said he
symbolic
died in the elevator. That's crazy.
of,
They said that.
yes, but the elevator was Satan. And in that song, he was saying, don't let the elevator bring you down. Don't let Satan bring you down. And then when he died in the elevator, that really hit me home. That I was like, damn, Prince. Well, what's really going on? You said the
Yes,
elevator
indeed.
was a symbol of Satan. What, Satan came and got you or something? You died in the elevator? That really freaked my head out. But
Or
Prince,
even it could be a reference to the idea that Satan is present in people who seek sort of a unnatural, artificial sense of elevation,
well,
and
he
get
came out and
elevated.
said what it symbolized in the song. It was
Yeah,
Satan. I
and
mean,
these people.
Prince did a lot more interviews as he got older. He didn't do a lot when he was young. But if you find his interviews when he did start appearing and talking, he explains a lot of his songs. And just like he explained about Slave being shaving into his face,
Mhm.
why he did that.
Have you ever looked up or Googled the picture of Lucifer, the morning star? If you ever do, that like when you watch a movie, that Columbia pictures are the picture of Lucifer holding his light is identical to the Statue of Liberty. Even the chains on the feet and the Statue of Liberty's face doesn't even look like a woman. I researched that when the French gave us our original Statue of Liberty, it was a black woman and slave chains. America gave our Statue of Liberty back. That's not the original Statue of Liberty. That is identical. The Statue of Liberty now is identical, even holding up the light bearer, the light bringer, the morning star. The Statue of Liberty is identical to the Google picture of Lucifer morning star. That is crazy.
Well, it's symbolic. It's symbolic.
Greetings, neophyte Bokur. Please, if you will, tonight or tomorrow, join us live on cam. We certainly will appreciate you. We have about 8 minutes left in the show. 8 minutes. We certainly appreciate your participation, questions, comments, and requests. While we are live on air, you can type your questions or comments certainly in the chat, but you may also, by following the StreamYard link, join us live in studio with your cam and your microphone. A neophyte Bokor type that Prince practiced the same thing that we are right now. And I certainly agree with that, which is why I also believe that there could perhaps be a veiled reference to Satan, but Satan as a elevator. We certainly would say, Satan, the destroyer, Satan, the naked, Satan, the wicked. But I'm thinking it could have also been a veiled reference to Satan as a elevator of ego and abundance and seduction, and some of those other energies that Prince alluded and exuded in his demonstration. Certainly, we could say God has a way of elevating and could be said to be God, the elevator, elevator of a purpose, elevator of a cause. But the same could be said in polar opposite, perhaps, of Satan or Lucifer, who is said to represent beauty and lust, and had all the artistic talents and qualities that allowed him to create a vibration, a tone, a harmony, a note that would lead people, to stray. There's that telling of sirens and mermaids singing and emitting an eerily alien high-pitched sound or note that can lure men to their deaths, to abandon ship, to walk into the sea, if you will. So that's just another way of looking at it. I think it could have been a veiled reference to Satan, as Tony said, but as an elevator, and people who feel and seek means of elevation in artificial or supernatural means. Uh, you
Well,
know,
Prince was definitely a siren. It was said he's the only man that can take your woman in lipstick and high heel shoes.
yes,
Now,
indeed.
Michael Jackson could do it the same thing too, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember
And Rick
Michael
James.
Jackson wearing lipstick and high heel shoes like Prince did.
Michael Jackson had his lip print tattooed on.
I know he had his eyeliner too tattooed.
Yeah, they
And he was,
surgically put that cleft in his chin. They was doing a whole lot of foolish things.
I don't know if you can necessarily say Michael was even as drag as Prince. Prince had a burlesque element to him
Yes.
that Michael Jackson did not project.
And can still take your woman from you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, him and Rick James were fighting over women back in the day.
Yeah, I actually met Rick James. He was quite the character. When I was in Atlanta and working and being in Atlanta, he would
I
come
bet
into
he
our
was.
shop sometimes and spend a great deal of money on African products, African ritual art, items of the such. So there's a great awareness of the spirit realm attached to the arts and music and performance in general. And sometimes it becomes legendary and it becomes a part of these performer stories, and it ends up in books and magazines and in the rumor papers. But on more occasions than not, it just kind of stays a rumor, or it's kind of
True, because when I
whispered.
listened to Earth, Wind, and Fire and just the symbolism, Earth, Wind, and Fire was very spiritual.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yes indeed. Are you still with us, Tony?
uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I know the
still
Wi-Fi
here.
the Wi-Fi is acting kind of wonky right now. I was just checking. Greetings, Anik Jones. Welcome. We certainly appreciate you coming in. We are here weekday nights, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time. And we are powered by, sponsored by, supported by, promoted by NONVD, New Orleans National Voodoo Day, which is a companion event to a sibling brother sister event to the Voodoo Day, annual Voodoo Day that takes place on January 10th every year in Ouida, Benin, West Africa. It was indeed created to uplift and support communal honor of the ancestors and the practice of and tradition and religion of voodoo. But it was also created as a safe space, a coming home, if you will, a homecoming for the Africans in the Pan African diaspora to return to West Africa every January 10th for several days of celebration, ceremony, art, food, culture, heritage. And so we are replicating, if you will, that event here in New Orleans. This will be our second year. We would otherwise have it in January, but the Super Bowl this year, being held in New Orleans, came with some unique protocols as it relates to that, the city and Homeland Security. So we were not able to have our event in January. This year, it's happening April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Our press conference is on the 4th. Our symposium at Xavier University is on the 5th. And the actual Voodoo Day events and celebration and procession and food and gathering is on the 6th. We invite you to visit our website at www.vodouday.org. The U is the most important letter. YOU. We certainly need, appreciate, and enjoy your participation and your support. I look forward to sharing in this sacred space with you again on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time. We certainly appreciate your questions, comments, and requests. If you have some show topics, for instance, that you have some interest in, we will be more than happy to talk about that, share here on air. And we certainly are bringing on our Haitian representatives, our West African representatives from various nations in coming shows. We certainly appreciate your continued support. Please like, share, subscribe, repost, and we appreciate your continued support, offerings, and donations. Until tomorrow, remembering that all is truly and indeed a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test, and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. Peace and blessings to you and yours. Joy and prosperity, and no matter respect to voodoo. Good
Peace
night,
and
everyone.
blessing.
Oh, double.
Dabu.
Yeah.